Boosters, welcome! This will be a Eternal Masters draft live. We did this at our local game store. So this is Tuesday and the set was released Friday, so it's just a couple of days after its release. And we gathered 8 of our strongest warriors or planeswalkers to do battle with Eternal Masters. So before this I hadn't really looked into the set that much, but I did listen to the Limited Resources podcast, so I had some idea of what I wanted to do, mainly Burning Vengeance, but we'll see. And bear with me here, you won't be able to see all the cards all the time because I can't operate the camera and focus on the picks at the same time, but I'm trying to put the interesting cards to the front and try to choose from there. So in this pack there was a couple of medium cards and there were 2 that stood out to me, and it was Factor Fiction and Siege Gang Commander, and I do think that Siege Gang Commander is the best pick, just in general, but my personal preference leans towards Factor Fiction, and I ended up taking it. I wouldn't fault you, in fact I would probably encourage you to take Siege Gang Commander instead, but I figured this would be like Cube, that you could do basically what you wanted to do, so hopefully that will turn out great. So I was past a Counterspell and a few other decent red cards, and Extract from Darkness, which I'm a huge fan of, but I thought that Extract and Werebear and stuff was not that much better than Counterspell, that goes well with my first pick. So despite having a couple of good options, I decided to go with the Counterspell because it keeps me more open, and there are so many really powerful cards in the set, so you want to stay open, I think, if you can. And once again, apologizing for the bad camera angle, but I couldn't really adjust the camera on the fly, so that's just how it is. We were not allowed to look at our draft picks during the draft either, so otherwise I would have reviewed them for you from time to time, but that's just how it is. So in true fashion, we did not really have a call draft, so we were forced to wait a few times for the boosters, but that's just how it is, and I know that you know that that's how it is. I will be doing a cracker pack after each match, but it will be a pretty fast one, so just to open boosters. So here I get Rift Watcher, which is kind of cool, and the Drake, which is also quite good. Some flyers. Overall, a pretty decent pack, and I was also looking at the Pilgrim's Eye, maybe going into more colors than 2, but I wanted to try to not do that if possible. My preference here is definitely the Drake though, because even though it's not the biggest flyer, it's virtually free. You play it for 5 and then you get to untap 5, so even if you don't have any combos, I get to add a 2/3 flyer to the board and keep Counterspell or Factor Fiction or whatever up on my opponent's turn, which is just a huge advantage. But there are a couple of good options here. You could take even Rift Watcher, but I wanted to avoid blue-white if possible, because that archetype just seems really poor to me. I mean, it's probably okay, and you could probably get a decent version of it, but honestly, that will. I don't want to waste an Eternal Masters draft on blue-white flyers. That's just my preference though. If you like blue white flyers, go for it. The deck will be quite good, I think, from time to time, but yeah. So here I get past like some elves again, and elves is another archetype that I really don't wanna do. But I also get a mana war, which is fairly strong. I like those type of cards that you get something. Basically, you disrupt your opponent's pace a lot and get to do whatever you want to do. In my case, I'm hoping that will be Burning Vengeance, but you never know. It's hard to force something. So Mana War, excellent. So now I have Factor Fiction, Counterspell, Mana War, and Peregrine Drake, which is a good start. 4 blue cards is quite strong as well. I haven't seen anything in another color that really makes me happy to add my second color or to do anything else. I mean, the blue cards have been on par or simply the best this far, so no reason to switch it up. You can also see my beautiful Modern Masters playmat. I went to Germany to play. It was quite fun actually, even though I didn't make day 2. The last opponent I faced had 2 Comet Storms and Karn, so there was nothing I can do to beat him, unfortunately. But hey, that's Magic. So let's see here. This is also quite interesting because there are a couple of lands floating around, and I'm a huge fan of drafting lands, even if you're only in two colors. I think, as in a real cube, you do want to pick up lands if you can, because that's just more picks you get to play with. I was not worried about getting 23 playables. So here I could take land, I could take the good blocker, I could take Urborg Uprising, or I could take Twisted Abomination. And I decided to go with Abomination for 2 reasons. It's a pretty good card overall. It's a decent sized body. It has Regenerate, which is quite good. And if I end up blue-black Reanimator, it's an easy way to get a creature into the graveyard that you can bring back, and it will be pretty strong. But it also fixes mana, which is good for the future. So here we get Faithless Looting, and we also get Dream Twist, and I was quite confident in taking one of these, and I ended up with Faithless Looting because it's just the better card. If I'm Reanimator, I can be Grixis and it will be good. If I'm blue-red Flashback, it will be good. Overall, it's just a better card than Dream Twist. I'm not really certain when you would play Dream Twist, besides when you have Burning Vengeance. So, yeah. Here we get Innocent Blood quite late, but we also get a Firebolt, and I'm like, yeah, because not only is it a great signal that red is decently open, it's a perfect card for a flashback deck, so I'm really happy about that. Probably the best card that I could get here. So I was just counting the cards to see if there was a chance to get Dream Twist back, and I figured that it probably wouldn't, because there were so many marginal cards that someone would probably pick it up just to not give it to the flashback player. This pack was a complete brick though, unfortunately. It was green, white, and just cards that doesn't do anything. I ended up taking the wall because it's a playable one. It stops a lot of damage. gives you time to set up. And here I think this is my opening pack, and we wield Desperate Ravings, which is perfect. That does mean a lot, and the fact that it won't wheel to anyone else also means a lot. Here another easy pick. We could take the creature here, but I'm feeling like I already have 9 or 10 cards that I wouldn't mind playing, so spending a pick on a land here is great. So also worth noting is that we are playing for keeps, so the cards that you pick is the cards that you will go home with. So if I were to open, let's say, a wasteland, I would have to pick that because I want the money. I voted against this because I think it's a lot better when you pick cards that are good for your deck. So today we're mainly playing for honor and fame. Here I take the 3/3 flyer. It's in an environment like this, it's not something that just jumps out to you, but it's still a good sized flyer that will do work. So I think that will be a good addition to the deck. It's not a card that I'm actively looking for, but as my 10th pick or whatever, that's fine. So here I get black cards and a land, and you know, I could pick up like a Faith's Feathers or something that I want to splash, so that might be a thing. And I'm also in the camp of players that really wants to take lands aggressively if given the opportunity. So the last picks here are pretty much the same. It's lands or medium spells. And I decided here to take the creature because that land I'm not going to play. It's just not gonna happen. So I'm pretty pleased with the first pack. No Burning Vengeance though, which is it's making me sweat a little bit, because if I don't get it, the deck's power level drops a fair amount. So, but there are 2 packs left, and since cards like Desperate Ravings and Firebolt came so late, I'm confident that if a Burning Vengeance is opened somewhere, I will probably get it. Unless it's like the person next to me opening it and sending it another way, then someone might pick it up just to mess with me. So Fact or Fiction, Counterspell, a Drake, Mana War, Black Mana Fixing, Firebolt, a Defender, Desperate Ravings. I mean, I'm happy with where I am right now. It's not the best cards that I've ever seen in my entire life, but they're still perfectly serviceable. 2 Screeching Scarabs, which I don't want to play, but you never know. So yeah, that's the first pack, and we'll move on to the second one. So for this pack, what I'm looking for is money or Burning Vengeance. I actually thought that it would be hard to play blue, because we had a lot of good players that likes blue, but it seems like they were able to give it up to me. So a couple of good elves here, another good card. So you also get Firebolt and Extract from Darkness, which I'm tempted to take, and the rare is Sapphire Swarm, yay! And Night's Whisper. So no money. The pick that I want to make obviously is Extract from Darkness, because it's good. And I mean, I got Firebolt like last pick now, but in the last pack, so maybe it will come around. But in the end, Firebolt is the correct pick here, I think. Even though I don't have Burning Vengeance yet, I think it's still the best pick. Cheap, cheap, efficient removal that works with the graveyard seems good to me. And this pack is garbage. I remember it. It doesn't have anything for me and hardly anything for anyone. The best card by far is Bloodbraid Elf, which is a good card. And then the second to best card is like Tragic Slip. And then there is nothing. So I ended up taking Bloodbraid here for the potential splash. I'm not gonna work for it. It's not like I'm gonna spend picks to make it work, but Bloodbraid is certainly strong enough that it could justify a splash. But right now I have like one mana fixer for black and none for green, so but I didn't give up anything for my deck to take it, so that felt good. And here we have a Crocodile, which is quite strong. Blue Honden, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's okay. War Marshal, which is quite good. Some lands, which could help with a splash, and a flashback card. I don't anticipate playing Reckless Charge, and not using the effect, just trying to get the flashback seems quite weak. I could take the land here for Bloodbraid, or I could take Honden, which would be a good backup plan. If I don't get Burning Vengeance, I could play like Blue-Red Control instead, and start picking up a few more creatures and just using the removal as they are, basic removal, and have Honden as my late game engine. And the first card I'm looking at in this pack is Burning Vengeance, so I don't really need to go through the rest, but yeah, that's a slam. So now I'm happy. Now I have a good direction, a good plan. I already have a good foundation for the deck. I'm happy now. I have like 2 Firebolts and Desperate Ravings and Faithless Looting, so I'm looking decent on the flashback spells as well. So I'm already in business. All I need to do now is find more, like if I could pick up like this Deep Analysis or Runa's Grace or Silent Departures, more Firebolts would be awesome. Basically anything like that, or another Burning Vengeance, that would be insane too. The deck could shape up to be a real all-star. So going into this, the color pair that I least wanted to play was green-white, because it just felt so underwhelming. If you're trying to put auras on stuff in a format with Man Wars and plenty of removals and Face Feathers and whatever, you're likely to lose, I would have to say. I'm not saying that it can't work, because it certainly can, but a mediocre version of that deck will be creamed by basically everything else. Here I get Braids, which is quite interesting, and an Elephant Guide, Honor Guard, which is super strong. I'm more looking at the Island Fixer, which is so good, and Brainstorm and Mog Fanatic are not horrible either. So it's between the Fixer and the more card selective thing. Despite liking the mana fixers a lot, I'm going for Brainstorm here, and I'm more in the market for spells that can help me find Burning Vengeance at this point. So even though I don't like Brainstorm in Limited at all, I think that pick is okay. It's close, but it's okay. Yeah, but you should probably pick the Island Cycler there, because they're really good. All of those cycles are really good. Here we get Mishra's Factory, which is also quite strong, a card that I wouldn't mind playing at all. and Beetleback Chief, Counterspell and Firebolt. So it's like, yay, I can pick whatever. And this pick was really tough because the land gives me an extra card that I can play. Beetleback Chief is just really good. Counterspell, if you're keeping Factor Fiction up or something, is strong. But I think Firebolt is the correct pick here. It's on par with the other cards to some degree, and with Burning Vengeance I think it just edges out everything else. But I can see taking any of these cards and being quite happy. So yeah, looking strong now. All I need is more flashback spells really, and Burning Vengeance. So here is a complete white pack, and we get foil, memory lapse, dragon egg and silent departure. And I'm really tempted to take memory lapse, but silent departure is the nuts in this deck. You like bounce their 2-drop, they can't replay it because they have to play a 3-drop. And here, last pick in this pack, I get another silent departure, which is excellent. Well, then they play like their 3-drop. I get to play Burning Vengeance, and they're still to do any damage to me. And even if they connect the turn after that, it doesn't really matter because now you're one turn away from using Burning Vengeance and Firebolts and what have you. So Extract from Darkness will, together with the Swarm. I'm not trying to play Extract from Darkness, but it is a card that works quite well in the deck. You kill their biggest things, and you get to reanimate them. At the same time, you get to mill to maybe find a flashback spell. So this pack was garbage when it first came around, and it's still garbage. So I'm gonna take a sideboard card, and I mean, preventing activated abilities is a thing. So hopefully that will work out. Here I can take the Bloodbraid land or Mog War Marshal basically. And War Marshal is a card that I like a lot. It blocks well, it's more permanence in the same card. You could like jump attack and then firebolt to finish them off. Overall it's just, I like the card a lot, and I think it works in this type of deck as well. At least as my 10th pick or whatever. I wouldn't spend early picks on it, not for this deck, but and here one of my friends was faking that he put another pack on top of this pack because, well, that shouldn't happen. So it's like none of these cards matters. I'm gonna take the land, and that's something I do quite often because I'd rather take away the stability of the mana base for my opponents than taking a marginal card from them. Granted, if there was like anti-Burning Vengeance cards like here, Dragon Predator, and I don't need any of the other two cards, sure, I could take Dragon Predator. That doesn't bother me at all. But taking the lands are actually quite good because in a format like this, if I take a 23rd pick card or whatever, they're not gonna play it anyway. So if they get 30 playables or 32 playables, that really doesn't matter, but the land could actually matter. So this pack was fantastic for me, despite breaking in like the first two packs. Not breaking, but the second pack was horrible. But we picked up a Fireball, a Burning Vengeance, 2 Silent Departures, and Brainstorm together with Mog War Marshal. So some stability, some early plays, the engine that we were looking for, and a potential splash card, which I'm quite happy with. So I'm not certain I will play Hondan, I'm not certain I will play my walls, maybe I will. The Screeching Scarps are looking like they might not make the final cut. They're pretty bad in general, so well. But yeah, let's go on to the third pack and see if we can make this work, or yeah, let's just see where we end up. So in the third pack, now I'm mainly looking for money, but I mean that's what everyone is. Dragon Egg quite good. Wraith Watcher I think is pretty underrated, and there's an Una's Grace which I'm really looking for, so would be happy to take that. But there is more good cards in this pack that could potentially make it. So we have 3 excellent cards here to choose from. We have Una's Grace, which will be an all-star in the deck, We Dragonauts, which will be an all-star in the deck, and Merfolk, which is just... It's gonna be good all the time. So you can take either of these cards and be quite happy. I wanted to take Una's Grace, but I felt like there is a pretty good chance that I might get one anyway, but Merfolk I will not be getting, so I ended up taking that. Yeah, I think that's the correct pick. Also, if there is another, it's unlikely that there is another blue-red drafter, so we Dragonauts could actually wheel. So I think I'm getting the most out of this pack by taking Merfolk. It's just such a good card. It finds my Burning Vengeance, it discards my flashback spells, it gets rid of my excess lands, the same as Una's Grace would do, but the only downside is that I mainly don't have any creatures, so their removal will be happy to see a target. So here we have Desperate Ravings, quite nice. Faith's Feathers that we could splash, another Black Honden, and yeah, that's it. I don't recall the name of the rare enchantment, but that's also quite the card. It's close to opposition, which has to be a sign of strength. So another Desperate Ravings. I will pick up as many of those as I can. Memory Lapse and Manowar, and I could take an aggressive dude, but that just feels like if I'm finishing off a game with that, I would have won anyway. So it's tempting, but not really. And I'm quite certain that Desperate Ravings will wheel, so I can spend my pick on Manowar, which is just the nuts. I mean, it's such a good card. So more green and white, it seems. Relic I'm very tempted to take because it's good against me, but this pack contains 2 good cards for my deck, Silent Departure and Desperate Ravings, and yeah, I'm gonna take Silent Departure because it's so good. It's not even certain that I will play against a player who ends up with Relic, and they might have other hate cards, so fair enough. And hopefully that Desperate Ravings will wheel, so I will have like a million of those. They're just really good. They burn through your deck and dealing a bunch of damage on their way out, and yeah, you can probably sculpt your hand so that it will be good. So a few more shots at a second Burning Vengeance. Not too likely though. But if one is open, I should be able to get it. So we are looking at 3 rounds of Swiss after this, and I will be playing for the camera as long as I'm winning, and then maybe I will switch it out. So here we get Deep Analysis and Una's Grace and Foil Arcanis, so it's like, yeah, I'm ending up with the more disciplined pick and taking the Deep Analysis, hoping that other Una's Grace will wheel, but yeah, I could have picked up Una's Grace here. It would have been good too. They would have been close enough. Here we have a Roar of the Worm, That's a good card. So this is like nothing really. Could take Roar, I could take a land, but there are two of these. I actually ended up taking the Nimble Mongoose, and the reason is that it has Shroud, so I actually have a hard time beating a Nimble Mongoose. Not that it is a good card in this limited format, but yeah. So we have Flag Bearers, and we have a black land and a Drake. I was thinking that with this land and a Swamp Cycler, I could probably play Extract from Darkness. It is a pretty powerful card. In retrospect, I should probably just have taken the Drake and skipped the Black Splash, but it's so easy to say post-draft what you should have done. What can I say? I like taking lands if I can. So, not too much left of this draft, unfortunately. But I'm quite pleased, actually. It's a solid deck, and I think it will do quite well. So I get a chance on another Drake here. And had I gone with the Drake in the last pack, I probably would have done the same here or taken something else, but now I'm gonna get a second duel for my Black Splash, which makes it pretty solid. It's like 2 duels, a Swamp Cycler, and a Swamp. That's 4 black sources. And with Merfolk Looters and Desperate Ravings, it's quite easy to discard them if I don't have any use for them. So it looks solid. So yeah, just biding my time now because, well, packs doesn't always flow. And my friend who's sitting next to me or across the table is not super stoked about his deck. He's mumbling something about if he should go into the 5th color or not, which is not a good sign. Here I get another chance on a green source for Bloodbraid, and I also get, as I predicted, Una's Grace and We Dragonauts back. And I do need Una's Grace, or I would really want it for my deck, but I know there's another one coming in like a pack or 2, and if this one is here, that one is probably gonna come around as well. So I'm gonna take the We Dragonauts, because it's also a super strong card in my deck. It's easy to trigger it 2 to 3 times a turn, making it a really fast clock. If I knew that I wouldn't get the next Una's Grace, I would probably have taken this one instead, since discarding lands to trigger Burning Vengeance and drawing cards is pretty strong. But honestly, with 4 Desperate Ravings and Merfolk Looter, I don't think discarding lands will be an issue. So yeah, down to the last few picks here. I'm not really certain what you're supposed to do with the threshold I'm not sure what I should call it, looter, but because it's quite bad to have to trigger threshold before you can before you can have any value from him, and then he helps you with threshold, which is bizarre. So Desperate Ravings comes around as I predicted. That's good. So yeah, just a few picks left, and then we will go over to the deck tech. Obviously Una's Grace is a card that I'm still looking for, but it seems like it didn't come around, which is sad. So a few more uninteresting picks, and yeah, that's the Eternal Masters draft portion. So let's head over to the deck tech and discuss the final build. Okay, so this is the final deck. I'm just gonna put the picture here so you can see it. I'm quite pleased actually. There's just one or two cards, 3 maybe, that I would have changed if I could pick and choose however I wanted. But we have the engine in Burning Vengeance, obviously, and we managed to pick up heaps of flashback spells. We have 3 Silent Departure, Firebolt, 4 Desperate Raving, so that's 10, and then we have Deep Analysis as our 11th flashback spell, so that is pretty good. Then we have a few creatures. I tried to make it so that they either had flying or was a good defensive creature. So we have the Turtles and the Wee Dragonaut, 2 Mana Wars, which is just great overall, the Merfolk, and 2 bigger flies, the Drake being free to cast, so to speak, so it's quite good too. Twisted Abomination mainly for mana fixing, so we can cast Extract from Darkness, and that's the only part of the deck that I wanted to change. If I could change cards, I would remove the 2 black cards and add another Burning Vengeance and an Una's Grace, but that's basically it. And I know I had a chance to pick Una's Grace in the draft, but I really thought one would come back, so there's that. Otherwise, I'm really pleased, and I'm running 16 lands. I think that will be enough. We have a lot of card draw, and well, despite needing lands, I don't think it will be that much of a problem. We have Merfolk, we have 4 Desperate Ravings, we have Deep Analysis and Factor Fiction. I think we will get there. So hopefully we can grind someone out, and yeah, let's jump over to the first match and see if Eternal Masters turns out to be great or mediocre. We will see. And also at the end of each match I will crack a booster just for fun and see if there is something worth any money or worth speaking about in terms of limited. So that's a little bonus for you. So thanks for watching, and please stay tuned for the first match.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter at MagicGathStrat, Facebook /MagicGatheringStrat, or on the web, magicgatheringstrat.com. There you can find articles and free prize-supported leagues. This is all brought to you by our Patreons and cardhoarder.com. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/MagicGatheringStrat.